All right, guys, so this one, you're actually not gonna do too much math on this problem. The reason is because we are trying to figure out whose length is going to be the shortest and whose length is going to be the longest, okay? So we have in science class, we have Tio, we have Carson, and we have Dakar. Okay, they measured the length of their bean sprouts, and Carson's sprout is 9 times the length of Teo's, and Dakar's is 1 8/10 times the length of Teo's. So I'm going to make Teo's as just this. This is Teo's length, okay? I'm just kind of taking a guess. If I know that Carson's sprout is 9/10 times the length of Teo's, that means Carson's is going to be a little bit shorter because I'm not quite multiplying his by a whole number of 1. And if Dakar's is 1 8/10 the length, that means it's going to be longer because I'm multiplying it a little bit over 1. That is the reason why we have these numbers the way that they are, okay? So when I look at this, whose bean sprout is the longest? Well, Dakar's is the longest, and Carson's is the shortest, okay? The reason why is because when I multiplied Carson's, I multiplied his by 9/10, and that number is smaller. It's less than 1. So that, remember, whenever I multiply a number that's going to be less than 1, my product is going to be smaller. And the reason why Dakar's is the longest is because I multiplied his by 1 8/100. His is more than 1, so I'm going to multiply it by 1, and then there's going to be a little bit more left over that I multiply it by, so it's going to get bigger. So it is going to be more than 1. So that's the reason why and how we get those answers. Okay, now number 5, it does say to complete the following statements, and we're going to use decimals to give an example of each. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to say A is going to equal 3.14. Okay, so if I multiply 3.14, because I'm wanting to keep this in decimals, and I'm going to do it on both of these just because I'm going to use the same thing. Okay, I want to create B where it's going to be, sorry, not A, where it's going to be greater than 3.14. So I need this one to be greater. So if I want to multiply 3 4/10 by something to make it a bigger number, a greater number, I'm actually going to multiply it by something that's going to be over that number 1. And I'm just going to do 1.5, 1 5/10. Okay. Now, if you're sitting here and like, okay, I'm really confused by this, I'm not quite understanding this, what you can always do is go ahead and solve it and see. What is 3 1400 times 1 5/10? See what your answer is and make sure that it is greater than that 3 1400. Okay? This one, I want to make this letter B, I want to make it actually less than 3 1400. Now, to make a number less than, I want to multiply it by something that's going to be less than 1. So I'm actually going to just multiply this one by 8500. And because I've multiplied this by a number less than 1, that is how my answer is going to be less than 1. So when you think about it, whenever you're multiplying and you want to figure out, well, what am I going to put? Guys, I could have put 1.2, 1.1, 1.3. I could have put 10 25 thousandths, okay? And I still would have been greater. Anything here, I could have put 99 hundredths, and it still would have been less than, because whenever you want to make a number that's greater, you've got to think about that number that you're scaling it by. You want to make it greater than 1. If you want to make a number less, you want to make sure that you are multiplying it or scaling it by a number that is less than 1.